becoming rich starts in the mind. All right. And a wise man told me once that before you can ever be a millionaire, you have to become a millionaire in your mind. All right. And we see this evident, we see evidence of this, when people hit the lottery. They have $1 million. They have sometimes multi-millions of dollars, right? But what happens next is that the person that they are in their mind continues to project itself into their life by way of their habits and the patterns that they consistently participate in. These things usually bring them from success as a millionaire all the way back to the poverty that many of them experienced prior to winning the lottery. All right. And it proves that you cannot become a millionaire in the world until you are a millionaire in your mind. This is what's up.
Oh yeah, it's your boy live in Tweet City, yo. And if you ain't talking about getting paid, you ain't talking about nothing, yo. Now this is the national anthem for everybody who knows what it feels like to get up every morning and have to punch that clock, knowing you feel like quitting, but you can't stop. I am tired of working every day.
The message for today is how to deal with the beginner's mind. All right. The beginner's mind, such a delicate space. All right. Such a delicate little thing. All right. The beginner's mind. But the beautiful thing about the beginner's mind is that there are no limitations in the mind of the beginner. Okay. The beginner sees everything possible, right? Everything possible. There are no limitations in the mind of the beginner. It's kind of like a child, the child asks, can I do anything? And why can't I do any and everything that I want to do? That's the beginner's mind. And we want to take a look at the beginner's mind today, and we want to extract from the beginner's mind the things that make you successful, and we want to learn from the beginner's mind the things that you'll need further down the road or further along in the process to be successful. All right. We're going to first say the beginner's mind is a beautiful thing, a very beautiful thing, but it's not the only thing. And the beginner's mind helps you get started, but most of the time, the beginner's mind causes you to not follow through and become successful. All right. Such a beautiful thing, but it cannot be used alone to reach success. All right. Now let's get a little deeper into that. You say, Law, what do you mean? Well, in the beginning, let's take a look at what happens in the beginning. In the beginning, when you decide you have a goal or you have a vision, you see all of the possibilities. You see what you'll be doing when you reach your goal. You see what other people will be saying about you when you reach your goal. You see your goal in full bloom at the beginning. But what you don't see as a beginner is the work that goes in. And oftentimes it's said that people imagine completed products. Okay, they imagine completed products, but very few people in their imagination of their future, very few people imagine the hard work that goes into it. And when someone comes to me with an idea, I always say, man, that's a great idea. Are you ready to give everything you got to it? And a lot of people think I'm speaking negative. They say, well, Law, I'm just telling you about the idea. And I'm saying, I'm just telling you about success. Okay? You have to be willing to put not 110%. That's outdated. 110% will not get you to your goals anymore. That's outdated. You have to be willing to put 300% into your goal. And Law, why do I need 300%? Well, because the first 100% is going to be you giving everything you got, right? And then you'll get to a point where that's not enough. And you'll have to get to another level, and you'll have to reach to another part of yourself and find something else to give. And again, you're going to need to give all you got, right? And then you'll find that, okay, I'm almost there. What now? There'll be something else along the way. There's the opening game, there's the middle game, and then there's the end game. To close out the end game, you're going to need another 100%. Okay? So you're going to have to give all you got to get it up and running. You're going to have to give it all you got to keep it going. You're going to have to give it all you got to finish. So don't look to be any less than 300% in on success. Okay? So any goal that you're not willing to put 300% in, scratch it off your list. Because you're not going to succeed, not in today's economy, not in today's world, not with the competition that's out there today. You will not succeed in any form of entrepreneurship today without 300% of your ability, 300% of your strength, 300% of your time, 300% of your effort, 300% of your thinking, 300% of everything. All right? But now let's get back to the beginner's mind, because in the beginning you don't see this. All you see is the beauty of everything you want. You want thousands of dollars a day, some of you. You want thousands of dollars a week, thousands of dollars a month. You want to become a millionaire. You want to live like the rich and famous. All of that is surely what you want. That vision is secure in your mind. You know you want it. These are the freedom seekers. This is really an elite group of people. First of all, the people who see something new, something different on the horizon. They're not just taking what was handed to them. Here, take this job, go use it for, a few decades and then sit down and let us take care of you at the hospital. This plan is not going to work for this group of people. But this group of people have the beginner's mind. And the beginner's mind is what makes them so special in the beginning. Right? This is what makes you so special as to decide to go a different route than everybody else, to decide to have a higher climb than everybody else, to decide to reach a higher plateau than everybody else. Okay, so your goals are unique, making you unique. All right? This is the beauty of the beginner's mind. The beginner's mind has something more to obtain or something more to attain. All right? The beginner's mind wants more. The beginner's mind needs more. The beginner's mind is willing. But what happens then? What happens to this elite group of people that's probably somewhere near 30% of the world, maybe even 40, could possibly be 50% of all people decide that they want something different than everybody else. They want more. But how does this group get diminished down to 1%? How do we go from possibly half of the entire world want something different and want something more to just 1% actually obtaining it? How does that happen? It all starts and ends in the beginner's mind. In the mind of the beginner is success. The blindness of the beginner's mind is that success requires more than a goal. It requires more than a vision. It requires more than resources that you may have in the beginning. See, the beginner's mind does not imagine the shovel as the success. The beginner's mind does not imagine hard work as success. It doesn't even equate the two. See, the beginner's mind is looking for an easier way, a better way to be successful. But the beginner does not understand that the promised land will come in the form of a shovel. Okay? Your prayers will be answered in the form of the opportunity to work to receive your goal. Your vision will come in the form of a unique challenge. See, we don't imagine the shovel. We don't imagine the dirt. We don't imagine the sweat in the beginning. This is the beginner's mind. The beginner's mind is so beautiful because it imagines beauty only as a finished product. It does not imagine breakdown. It does not imagine stress. It does not imagine competition. It does not imagine confrontation. It does not imagine resistance of any kind because it's the beginner's mind. It's such a beautiful thing. It's like the picture behind me. It's so bright and vivid and illuminating. It makes you feel like $1 million before you ever have $1 million. But that's not what we were talking about in the beginning when we said you had to become a millionaire in your mind before you can become one in reality. That was not what we were talking about. We were not talking about looking at yourself as a millionaire. No, we were talking about imagining the shovel, imagining the hard day's work, imagining the expense, imagining the cutting back on different vices, different things that you enjoy, different foods, different habits. What am I looking for? The word is imagining different choices. Because in the beginning, you have to save. You have to save time and money to become a millionaire down the road. You have to invest time and money to become a millionaire down the road. You have to incorporate the help of others to become a millionaire down the road. You have to talk to others to become a millionaire down the road. You have to influence people to become a millionaire down the road. You have to help others to become a millionaire down the road. You don't just think of $1 million and it just walks up to you, Because let me tell you about success. Something else you may not know about success is like a beautiful woman. For all of you who are beautiful women, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And for all of you who are also men who seek beautiful women, you will also know what I'm talking about, because a beautiful woman will make you prove yourself before she allows you to possess her. That is just how it goes. That is just how it goes. And in the beginning, you imagine if you're a guy, I've been in this situation so many times. You imagine, you look across the room, you see the apple of your eye, and you imagine, what if she likes me? What if she could be my queen? What if? But you know what? That's the beginner's mind at work. And you see your possibilities, and little do you know, you have all that it takes. You have all that it takes at that point. But the beginner's mind is first introduced to stress of the realization that it must deal with resistance, that it must deal with conflict, it must deal with making tough choices, it must deal with effort. And then all of a sudden, you say she's probably got a man. She's probably already seeing somebody. How could she be so beautiful and nobody be with her already? Then the excuses become the friend of the beginner's mind. So what did we just learn? The beginner's mind shows you beauty, shows you fortune and fame, shows you everything that you can possess, but it does not have the ability to, or the forethought to show you the work required. This is why most people cannot have success without mentorship. This is why most people can't have success without coaching. We see this all the time. You have the best athletes in the world. If they were good enough to do without coaching, they would just go play for their respective teams and go on to win great championships and do great things. But all of them have coaches. The best singers have coaches. The best surgeons have to work under a great surgeon before they can go out and just be free to be successful at what they do. All right. So this is why the beginner's mind is incapable of foreseeing what it takes to be successful. So you guys are all here because you are responsible for your success. You have the beginner's mind in motion. You see you deserve more. You know you deserve more. You want more. You're going to have more, except it will require more than the beginner's mind. It will require an experienced mind. You will need coaching. You will need mentorship. You will need education. You will need time to grow. You will even need time to heal in some cases. You don't think you'll get your feelings hurt trying to become successful? You don't think you'll get your pockets broke trying to become successful? You don't think you'll lose $1 here and there trying to become successful? Well, all it will take is just a short bit of research on the world's wealthiest people, and you will see miles and miles and miles of failures that led to success. You will see millions of dollars that were lost along the way to success. You will see a gazillion hours invested on the way to success. But see, you can't see this in the beginning with the beginner's mind, because all you can see is what you want, what you deserve, what you're capable of. But see, it's been said by the wise that a broken mind cannot be fixed by the same mind that is broken. Okay? So you cannot fix or foresee your own shortcomings, not from the mind that is creating the shortcomings to begin with. Now, I'm not saying that the beginner's mind is a shortcoming. I'm saying that the beginner's mind is an asset that must be cultivated in order to succeed. It cannot just be taken from thought to reality without anything in between. There must be a lot of patience applied to the beginner's mind. There must be a lot of discipline applied to the beginner's mind. There must be a lot of education applied to the beginner's mind. There must be coaching applied to the beginner's mind. And a whole lot of other things. I could go on. But so that this video doesn't go too long, I want to take a minute to get into what Napoleon Hill and his great, what should I say? See, the thing about Napoleon Hill, what he did, a lot of people don't know. He was just an interviewer. Okay? All he did, he was a journalist, so to speak. All he did was talk to successful people and ask them questions about how they became wealthy. And he talked to so many of them that he decided, with all of these answers, I had better put it in a book because people need to know this. And the reason he went on this journey was because during the Great Depression, there were so many people that were in poverty that this country, the United States, needed to regroup and had to get back on its feet. So Napoleon Hill took on the service of finding out from the successful people what it is that they did to become successful. What is it that they needed to become successful? What is it that they endured to become successful? And he put it all in a book. He put it in a series of books. This being the most popular of the series, Think and Grow Rich. You need this book, guys. You need to read this book at least 7 times. But it was told to me by a very wealthy person that you should read it over and over until you reach your goals. Don't stop reading until you reach your goals. All right? So now, having said that, we're going to talk about what you're experiencing in the beginner's mind. Okay? It's simple, folks. You're just experiencing imagination. Imagination. Now, that's a powerful thing, but it is an elusive quality to have. All right. A lot of people don't tap into their imagination. A lot of people are fearful of their imagination because in their imagination, there is no limitation. And some people have been so convinced that they can't achieve that they don't even want their imagination to throw anything at them that, is unbelievable. All right. So we're going to take a minute and talk about imagination, and then we're going to go into it a little bit. And that should be enough for you guys to understand what it will require for you to go from the beginner's mind to the successful mind. Okay? The beginner's mind will always be there. It is just like this picture behind me. It is the electricity of your entire movement towards success. It's the battery pack. You need the beginner's mind, but you got to get past it in order to see success. And a lot of people, I see it every day. That beginner's mind gets them on board. They're in. Bam! I want it. I see what I want. I know what I want. I got it. But then as soon as it requires them to repeat step 1 2 or 3 times, they're out of the game. As soon as step 1 doesn't get them to step 2, they're out of the game. As soon as step 2 doesn't get them to step 3, they're out of the game. As soon as they have to go, they do step 3 and then have to go back to step 1, they're out of the game. They're not willing to see it through. This is why only 1% experience life at the top. Success. Making it to the top of the mountain. 1%, folks. Okay? We got 8 billion people on earth. and 1% is following through from beginner's mind to successful mind. Let's see why. Imagination, chapter 6. It's probably not showing up. Okay, chapter 6 of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It says down here, your big opportunity may be right where you are now. Good. All right, chapter 6, imagination, page 59 of Think and Grow Rich. All right, the workshop of the mind is the subtitle. And this is what they consider the 5th step towards riches. All right, 5th step. So obviously, you should have been taking some steps prior to this point. So that will rule out a lot of people even thus far, because we're talking about the beginner's mind. We're getting ready to get into imagination and how it works. And the rich man's Bible is telling you that this is the 5th step. So that there should have been a step 4 before starting to imagine. There should have been a step 3 before starting to imagine. There should have been a step 2 before starting to imagine. And then there should have been a step 1 before starting even to imagine. Okay? This could be why so many people are unprepared to take the next step from the beginner's mind. Because they have a beginner's mind at step 1. No, step 5. Step 5. There's something you need to do before that. Okay? And this is what the wealthiest people, the 1%, is sharing with us. All right? Before I go on, you can definitely be in the 1% if you put your mind to it and put forth the effort. All right? It says here, the imagination is literally the work wherein let me reread that again. As many times I read this, I still get it wrong. The imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans created by man. I'll read that again. The imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans created by man. Now that has an old English ring to it. Let me see if I can rephrase that a little bit. The imagination is literally the workshop. Hold on. Before we go any further, let's break that down. The imagination. So imagination is a thing. A lot of people think imagination is a verb. We're talking about imagination as a noun. Okay? Imagination for some people is a verb. That's why they can't contain it. Okay? This is why it gets away from them. This is why they're so afraid of it. Because there's no focus of their imagination. Imagination is just something that they're doing. Oh, I'm imagining. That's like just hitting withdrawal on your bank account and just letting the money come all out. Just put infinite on your bank. Let it all come out. That's imagination as a verb. Imagination as a noun, okay, is a complete thought of all that it would take, okay, to have a thing come to life. All right? That's the difference. The beginner's mind is not a complete state of imagination. Okay? And we want to make it complete. And we're going to look at the things that make it complete. All right? So that it is the imagination and not just imagination as a verb. Because imagination as a verb comes and it goes. All right? And there's not much you can do with imagination when it comes and it goes. You can barely even remember what you imagined when it comes and it goes. But the imagination is a complete, well-rounded focus. This is why there's only 1% at the top. But we're going to change that, Millennium Moneymakers. We're going to change that. We're going to change that. If we could just get it to 2%, we would have changed the world in such a positive way. And if that new 1%, and we're going to start that. Let's start that right now. We're creating the new 1%, which will make it 2%. And if we do that, and we do it with good people, we can positively make my complete imagination of a world where good people begin to influence the world through wealth. All right? Just me rambling, guys, but we now are establishing today, on this day, and this day is July 8th, 2019. Going forward, we are projecting that from now on, there will be a new 1% established from this day forward. And it will now it will then create a 2%, all right, change. Ultimately, maybe we can change everybody. Maybe we can change everybody. But the beginner's mind would tell us we can do anything we want to do. Right now, let's just start with establishing a new 1%. Okay? The imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans created by man. Let's say it again. The imagination is literally the workshop where all plans are created. Now, how they put it, wherein are fashioned all plans created by man, that's just a fancy way of saying imagination is literally the place, the workshop where all plans are created by man. All right? But that's just the plans. Imagination is not where the plan actually becomes reality. This is where the plans are created, not by whether reality is created. In the beginner's mind, the plans are created, but the reality is not created in the beginner's mind. The reality is created through blood, sweat, and tears. And we might as well add money. You can also add time. You can also add stress and inconvenience. There will be all of those things along the way. And there will also be sometimes when the mind can be distracted. There will be fun times. There will be times when you reach a small goal and you'll have lots of fun with those times. But those times will be short-lived before a new challenge is in place. A new brick wall, a new form of resistance is in place. But what do you do? We're going to get to that. All right. The impulse, the desire is shaped. Why do I always get this wrong? I read so sloppy. Anyway, the impulse, the desire is given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind. Let's break that down. The impulse, the desire, is given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind. The impulse is given shape. The desire is given shape. The shape of reality does not happen yet. The mind, the imagination shapes the impulse. It shapes the desire. And for those of you who don't understand what an impulse is, we see this in impulsive buying. Something is in front of you and you say, oh, because you see it, you want it. That's an impulse. So when you see these advertisements of these guys in Lamborghinis and Ferraris and big houses and doing all these great things, when you see those things, you think, I want that. The beginner's mind tells you, You can have that. That's impulse. Desire is the burning feeling in your chest and even sometimes in your gut, even as low as your diaphragm. Some people say you can feel it all the way to your feet. The desire for a thing is given shape, form, and the number one ticket to success: action. From the beginner's mind, we see a gem that, oh my goodness, is the best part that you can extract from the beginner's mind, and that is action. Write it down. Write it down. This is what we were trying to get to. The impulse, the desire, is given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind. The mind is going to aid the hands, the feet, the flesh, the team, everything that goes with it. The mind is going to aid it. But the beginner's mind is only the beginning. Let's keep going. It has been said that man can create anything which he can imagine. The beginner's mind. It has been said that man can create anything which he can imagine. Of all the ages of civilization, this is the most favorable for the development of the imagination. Of all the ages of civilization, this is the most favorable for the development of the imagination, because it is an age of rapid change. On every hand, one may contact stimuli which develop the imagination. That means anybody can put their hands on something that they want, and it causes more desire, more impulse. This means that at no other time in civilization is there more opportunity for you to put your hands on things that you want and have the impulse to buy. There is no greater time in civilization. Are there more opportunities that you could put your hands on to make money, to have the things that you want? These impulses are endless, folks. The desire for greater things is endless. And it's all because the hand stimulates the imagination. The eyes stimulate the imagination. The flesh stimulates the imagination. But that's great. We already knew that. But what do we do with that desire? What do we do with that mindset? What do we do is the question. We're going to give you the answer. Just hold on. Through the aid of his imaginative faculty, man has discovered and harnessed it more of nature's forces during the past 50 years than during the entire history of the human race previous to that time. Now, this book was written right alongside the Great Depression, folks. And it is still as relevant today. Because still, throughout the aid of his imaginative faculty, man has discovered and harnessed it more of nature's forces during the past 50 years than during the entire history of the human race previous to that time. In the Great Depression, this was true. And in the new millennium, this is true. Through the aid, and if I said that incorrectly, let's go again. Through the aid of his imaginative faculties, through the aid of his imagination, man has discovered, realizing things, has harnessed it, has gathered the powers, more of nature's forces the earth, the wind, the fire, the rain. During the past 50 years, it keeps happening. Man keeps on using this imaginative tool to discover more of how to use what is already here given to us by the great power. Now, he has conquered the air so completely that birds are a poor match for him in flying. How does the imagination cause creatures without wings to be better and more skilled flyers than birds given wings by the great one that gave us all life? How? How does that happen when the Wright brothers were doubted? They were crazy for believing that they could fly. And y'all do your research. Make sure I'm documenting this correctly, or I'm stating this correctly. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for the video, I'd go and make sure. I don't like to put out any inaccurate information. But if I'm not mistaken, it was the Wright brothers that decided that man could fly, because in his beginner's mind, in their beginner's minds, they saw it. But how did they do it when nobody around them believed in them? How did they do it when every attempt failed? How did they do it? How did they do it without already having wings to fly? They had nothing. They had no example. They had no coach. But how did they do it? How? And they only established that we could fly. It was others' imaginative faculties that outdid the birds, because the Wright brothers, they couldn't fly quite as good as the birds. But now, we fly as good as the hummingbird. We fly as good as the bumblebee. We almost fly invisible. All because the beginner's mind was cultivated in the right way. All because they met every challenge without doubt and uncertainty of being able to achieve the goal. They overcame every obstacle, folks. This is all I'm really saying, is that in order to achieve what the beginner's mind has set out to achieve, all you have to do is be relentless towards overcoming the obstacles. The obstacles will be there. The obstacles were there for the Wright brothers. The obstacles are going to be there for you. The beginner's mind is only going to show you the complete picture. The beginner's mind is not going to show you. The beginner's mind didn't show the Wright brothers that they would crash into the ground. They crash into the wall. They didn't show that they would owe somebody money for the materials that they invested in, and then now they're destroyed. Their beginner's mind couldn't foresee the challenges, but they used their beginner's mind to aid them along the way. Let's keep going. The imagination is different from imagination. One's a verb, one's a noun. All right? He has harnessed it completely, the ether, and made it serve as a means of instantaneous communication with any part of the world. Are we not on the internet right now? Was it not a complete miracle that we were able to speak through a telephone? There was a time when man was using smoke signals. There was a time when man had to go by horseback to deliver a message. But the imagination as a noun made it possible to not only send messages through the airwaves, but now the internet. And now our imagination has taught us that we can make money online. And there are people who doubt us. There are people who say, nah, that stuff never works. Well, we know why it never works. Because the beginner's mind, using imagination as a verb, will never work. You have to have the ability to visualize more than just the outcome. You have to be able to visualize the work. You have to see the promised land in the form of a shovel and dirt. You have to see the pot of gold in the form of a rainbow coming after a violent storm. See, you don't just get a rainbow out of clear blue sky, folks. So in order for there to be a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, you have to have some rain. You got to have some clouds. In a lot of people's opinion, that would be a bad day. The cookout has to be spoiled. Okay? Your plans to go outside have to be ruined. In order to have a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, you got to have some rain. The sun has to be blocked. For the rainbow, let's keep going. Anyway, he has analyzed and weighed the sun at a distance of millions of miles. The sun will burn. The sun burns us when we're here. We go outside and get sunburned. So how does man decide, I want to know something about the sun and I have all of this resistance? I can't even look up at the sun with a magnifying glass or my eyes will just burn and melt in my sockets. And I go outside and I have to put on sunscreen so I don't end up going to the hospital. But some kind of way man decides in his imagination, the noun imagination, he decides that not in the verb, because imagination in the verb tells you get out of the sun, fool. Okay, this will kill you. But imagination as a noun says, I can do it if I'm willing to pay the price. If I'm willing to overcome the obstacles. If I'm willing to handle the objections. The sun is not saying come in and measure me. The sun is saying there's no tool that you can possess that I won't burn like a piece of butter if you get it near me. But the noun version of the imagination of man, not just imagination, the imagination of man decides, you know what? I know I can do it because I've already decided I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to deal with the resistance. I feel it in my gut that I can take it. I can take this opportunity from the claws of defeat, from the claws of doubt, from the claws of resistance. I can take it. I can overcome that sun. I can overcome that wind. I can overcome that ether. And you're letting a little payment stop you. You're letting a little investment stop you. You're letting a little somebody say no stop you. You're letting your friends tell you you can't fly. So you're going to look really stupid if you hurt yourself. That's imagination as a verb. That's not the imagination God gave you. All right? The beginner's mind, folks, is just the beginning. But we're going to break it all down before we open. We're not far from the end of this. Just hold tight. All right. He analyzed away the sun at the distance. He has discovered that his own brain is both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thought. And he is beginning now to learn how to make practical use of this discovery. Did you hear that, folks? Did you hear that? Did you hear that thoughts come from within and without? Okay? And what happens is some people have discovered that if I quiet my mind by meditating, I can receive thoughts from beyond my brain. We'll have to do some more investigating of meditation, but let's take a moment to accent or embellish the fact that you people need to learn how to meditate. I know you don't think so, but meditation is how you turn the volume down on your mind so that you can turn the receiver up. Okay, this book just said that man received thoughts from both sides. It is a broadcaster of thoughts, like I'm doing now. I'm talking to you, broadcasting thoughts. But I can also sit as an antenna and receive thoughts. How do you figure when the world has never seen the possibilities of flight except by another animal? How do you think some idiot gets the mindset that they can go out and fly? And I chose the word idiot sarcastically because we now know that without this insane thought, we'd be taking the train. We'd be taking a boat to move around the world. But now, this insanity has proven to be a blessing that came from a higher place. The Wright brothers were not just thinking from themselves, hey, I want to be the first one to fly. See, that would have been too little of a purpose, too little of a mission. There wouldn't have been enough energy in that for them to succeed. They needed to receive from using their mind as an antenna. They needed to receive higher thought. And once they received higher thought, like many of you have done, you've received higher thought that you deserve to be an entrepreneur, that you are made of something better. When they receive that higher thought, now they have a responsibility. And this is what usually makes them responsible throughout the process. So when they fall, when they fail, they know they received truth from a higher place, so they get back up. See, too many of you are believing what you heard your friends say about what you can do. You heard somebody else has failed at what you're trying to do. But see, you don't realize that sometimes the opportunity that has come your way is from a higher power. Sometimes the vision that you have is from God. Let's go on. He has increased the speed of locomotion until he may now travel at a speed of more than 300 miles an hour. The time will soon come when a man may breakfast in New York and lunch in San Francisco. Hello, new millennium. We can breakfast in New York and lunch in San Francisco right now, can't we? Huh? This book was written in the Great Depression, during the Great Depression. They were assuming that, and pay attention to this. This book was written against all odds. There was a Great Depression in America. People are right now running around, well, I don't know what we'll do if the economy crashes. Woo, I don't know whether I'll keep my membership if the economy crashes. I don't know if I can get sales if the economy crashes. I don't know. Well, guess what? The economy had crashed. Worse than ever. Never been a time worse than the Great Depression in the United States of America. And this beautifully insane thinker said, the time will soon come when a man made breakfast in New York and lunch in San Francisco. You can think, you can have positive thoughts while you're going through the hardest time of your life. You can imagine great things happening while you're enduring the worst catastrophe that you've ever heard or experienced. You have the right to do that. Is that imagination as a verb or imagination as a noun? Is that the imagination? See, the imagination can determine beforehand what's possible and then find a way along the way to make it all come true. That's the imagination. See, the beginner's mind is the beginning of imagination. It's not the complete imagination. See, the imagination includes the beginner's mind, the worker's mind, the learner's mind, the finisher's mind, and beyond. Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his imagination. What? Did you hear that? Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his own imagination? So you mean that there's nothing that you can't do if you just simply focus on completing the task and working through the difficulties? If you can just imagine the shovel, if you can just imagine the promised land in form of a shovel, if you can imagine the millions in form of an initial investment of $100, if you can imagine having millions of dollars in the form of spending your last 100, you can do it. If you can imagine flying in the form of crashing, you can do it. See, too many people, they get hit with this initial challenge and they figure, this isn't what I imagined. I imagined becoming a millionaire, not going broke. But you can't become a millionaire without potentially going broke. Going broke is not the goal. So if going broke becomes your reality, then you're basically going nowhere. See, if I'm seeking $1 million and going broke becomes my first step, it's not the end. So I'm not discouraged. I know that, okay, a little temporary setback is only step one. So I don't lose sight of my goal. Going broke does not cloud it doesn't make me think I can't be rich. You know, getting burnt out doesn't make me think I can't be rich. You know, getting complaints from my family saying I don't spend as much time as I used to doesn't make me feel like I can't get rich. Being turned down by a client doesn't make me feel like I can't get rich. Being told no does not make me feel like I can't get rich. Making a bunch of phone calls does not make me feel like I can't get rich. You know, digging dirt with a shovel does not make me feel like I can't get rich. If you wanted a food truck, hey, you may have to eat ramen noodles, but that does not make you feel like you can't get the food truck. Heck, you may save your money and then drop it on the way to the bank, and now you're out of money, but that does not make you feel like you can't get rich when you're using the imagination and not just imagination. All right. Man's limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his imagination. He has not yet reached the apex of development in the use of his imaginative faculty. He has merely discovered that he has an imagination and has commenced to use it in a very elementary way. This is what I'm talking about. The beginner's mind. Man has only begun to realize that he has an imagination. That's 99%. That's why they say man. You say, well, what about the people who did it? No, only 1%. Only 1% uses their imagination correctly. Only 1%. Now, I want you to start with me now on committing to changing your imagination from a verb to a noun. Okay? We have decided, Law Hilson, it has made the foolish claim that he can establish a new 1% to add to the current 1% that uses their imagination correctly, leaving 2% as the result. I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream that one day there will be 2% at the top. And from there, we'll see if we can do it again and again and again. We're going to change the world one mind at a time, one situation at a time, one person at a time. It's your time. The time is now. My name is Law Hilson. Get with the program. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video. If you dislike this video, we'll take that. Because nothing can stop us from reaching our goal except what's in our mind. Take care, folks. Stay tuned. We got some live videos coming up. We're going to be sharing with you a great opportunity and probably the best way I know to make money. All right. Cheers. Until we meet again. Keep getting up. And everything you need is already on your pathway. Remember that.
And if you ain't talking about getting paid, you ain't talking about nothing, yo. Now this is the national anthem for everybody who knows what it feels like to get up every morning and have to punch that clock, knowing you feel like quitting, but you can't stop. I am tired of working every day. I am tired of working every day. I for the water. You expect me to work at $7 and a quarter? What kind of living is this? Got me tight as a fist, but wanna crack me some heads just to let off the stress. I gotta get on my hustle to build up my muscle. Bills stack so high, I'm thinking I'm seeing